Welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, April 6th, 2020, and yesterday I uploaded my 2020 Senate election prediction as of April. I guess I do them every month. So today I'm going to be discussing the Democrats' pathway to actually taking the majority once 2020 hits. So we already know that this is an uphill climb for the Democratic Party. We're talking about a 53 to 47 majority for Republicans nationwide. In fact, worse than where they were in 2016. The Republicans have, I guess, 3 seats that they could lose if Donald Trump is to win re-election. The way that it works, if there's 50 seats on both sides of the column, the Democratic or Republican party would both have to have 50. And whichever political party holds the White House, whichever party that vice presidential candidate is. So, for example, if the Republicans get 50 seats and Donald Trump is reelected, they effectively have the majority because the vice president is the president of the Senate, and he will have that swing vote in the event of a tie. But let's go ahead and take a look at where the Democrats can reasonably win in some of these states. Now, there's no way that there's going to be anything similar to what we saw in the 2008 election, where the Democrats got around 59 seats. I mean, that was an absolutely huge electoral advantage. Not electoral advantage, I guess you could say. More so a Senate advantage. But they, dominated in the House. They dominated in the Senate. And, we probably actually won't see anything similar to that in the near future for either of the parties having that large of a majority nationwide. But the Democrats and the Republicans have been fighting out in countless races, and the primaries actually, if you're wondering why we aren't so sure as to who will be the exact nominees for some of these races, because state primaries are typically held way closer to the election. Into the 2018 midterms, some of those Senate primaries and governor primaries were held in August, giving them very little time to actually prepare for general election, discourse and being prepared for the actual general election. It's way different on the presidential level. While some states may coincide them, I know my home state of Maryland does, they will actually be focused on just the presidential election for the majority of the states. So if you've already had your presidential primary, make sure that if you hadn't voted in that, you will be able to vote in, the secondary primary for these type of elections if they did not coincide them. And honestly, you should definitely research your local candidates. It's going to be a very close Senate race, I can tell you that. The Republicans typically start off with an edge here just because of the Senate map not being too favorable towards the Democrats, but there definitely is a very real possibility that the Democrats do take back the Senate if they do have increased turnout and strong presidential performance. So let's talk about where we already know which states are going to be, considered likely. I've already characterized those states in my previous video. You can go ahead and check it out. It's just discussing my 2020, Senate prediction as of April 4th. I made one April 5th, actually. But it should be pretty interesting if you haven't seen it already. I think that you guys definitely should go ahead and just take a look, honestly. But yeah, so we have some Democratic seats to fill in. So let's go in Minnesota. Let's fill in Michigan, Colorado. By the way, Colorado is a flip if you are wondering. And I guess the other flip is Alabama, but this is a lean state. I don't think I have characterized any other, likely states. I know I moved Indiana. The state of New Hampshire. Okay, I knew I was forgetting one. New Hampshire and Maine, narrow flip. Montana, narrow hold. And Arizona, flip for the Democrats. And then Georgia, a lean seat. So, essentially, my last prediction ended up with 51 Republicans and 49 Democrats. This gives the Democrats a pretty good, area to improve on. Based on the 2016 election, the Democrats came in and ended up with 48 seats in the Senate. The 2017 Alabama special election happened. It narrowed down to 51 to 49. And then the 2018 midterms happened, and it ended up being back at 53, not back at, 53 to 47. And now, based off that prediction, it looks like it will narrow back down to still a Republican majority at 51 to 49. The real prize for Democrats is the 2022 midterms. They definitely should be taking a look at that. But this midterm season, this general election season could hold a lot of surprises. So far, we have 4 races characterized as lean for the GOP, 1 as tilt, and then we have 6 in the likely column. For the Democrats, we have 1 in the tilt column, 1 in the lean column, and 4 in the likely column. So far, the Democrats have more safe seats than the Republicans, but pretty much any of these seats that are considered lean or tilt are definitely still in play and could be pretty unpredictable by the time we hit Election Day. But let's talk about realistically where the Democrats can actually focus all of their, money and attention on. The first one would obviously be this tilt state that is not so good for the GOP. We're talking about Montana. Now, this is a state that has a strong Republican advantage on the presidential level, but they already have 1 Democratic senator. They have an incumbent Democrat in the governor's mansion. Honestly, that House race was insanely close in 2018 compared to what it should be, and it looks like the House race here is going to be close as well. The governor's race is also poised to be close, so there's no reason why the Senate shouldn't be close, especially with a popular governor now running in the state of Montana, a Democrat, running against the incumbent Steve Daines. But let's go ahead and see. Well, once we flip Montana, this gives the Democrats, I guess you could say, 50 seats to the Republicans 50. But this isn't enough to be sure that you will have a majority. What if Donald Trump wins? This is no longer a Senate majority, and the Republicans will hold on to it up until 2022. But let's say the Democrats do win the White House, then they don't really need to worry about the Senate, other than the fact that they're barely going to have 51 votes. And if there's anyone that will be wavering in their support, would definitely be Joe Manchin from West Virginia. Now, both Democratic senators from Montana and Arizona, Democrats that have to answer to their Republican constituencies. So that definitely will make a difference when it comes down to voting. But an absolute majority, the best pathway, the next state. Well, we have 4 states, just taking a look at the margins, 4 states that we could possibly choose from. That is Iowa, we have North Carolina, we have Alabama, and we have Georgia's special election. Honestly, the best case for the Democrats, the best scenario, for them would be to go through North Carolina. In my previous video, I discussed North Carolina being as a sleeper state. To clarify, what I mean is that the Republican Party is neglecting North Carolina the same way the Democrats did for the Rust Belt. Now, I know there's a lot of time until the general election, and Donald Trump will undoubtedly visit the state of North Carolina, but I honestly think that the Republicans are going to underestimate the amount of African-American turnout if Joe Biden is the nominee, which it looks like it's almost 99% sure that he will be. And if Joe Biden is the nominee, it will honestly move North Carolina into a way more competitive position in the Senate elections, in the House elections with redrawn areas, and now in obviously the presidential election. But North Carolina, I think, will be the best state for the Democrats to focus their money on. Alabama, honestly, it's probably going to end up for the Republicans. It's a Republican state at heart on the presidential level. Georgia included, a part of the same Bible Belt, and also the state of Iowa, which almost voted for Donald Trump by 10%. Fun fact, Texas voted less for Trump than Iowa. If you watch a lot of my videos, you know I say that a lot, but it just goes to show how much Iowa actually flipped to the GOP in 2016. Now, if you take a look at North Carolina, however, it was, in fact, probably the smallest margin. It was the smallest margin compared to Georgia, Alabama, and Iowa, and probably the best area for Democrats to target. And Tom Tillis from the state of North Carolina isn't necessarily the most popular person ever. 2016 was the first time, I think, ever in North Carolina history a Republican senator won re-election. North Carolina just has a really bad history with incumbent senators, and I still think that the Republicans will hold on to the state of North Carolina if the election was held today. But this is talking about a scenario where the Democrats do win back the Senate majority, and they get that with North Carolina. So this puts the Democrats at 51-49. The reason why Montana is closer than North Carolina is because if North Carolina is going one way, it'll probably be a lean margin. In the governor election, it was extremely close in 2016, even with Donald Trump's victory. So if Joe Biden comes closer than Hillary Clinton, I expect North Carolina to be larger than a tilt margin on this statewide race. But Montana, however, I still think will be insanely close. We're talking about a popular governor running against a mildly popular senator in a Republican state, but also one that is known for splitting the ticket on the presidential level, obviously, and then on the, governor, House, and Senate level, too. When we talk about Alabama and Georgia's special election in Iowa, they realistically aren't choices for Democrats to go ahead and go and try to flip. I mean, Joni Ernst-G's unpopular, sure, but Iowa is still Iowa. It's going to be very hard to convince this constituency in a presidential election year to vote for a Republican, to vote for a Democrat, when most of them are probably going to end up voting for Donald Trump on the presidential level. It's only possible in states such as Montana because they have a known history of splitting the ticket, or North Carolina, where the presidential election will probably be a lot closer than it is in Iowa, just based off the demographics that are intended to come out. Joe Biden definitely performs a lot better amongst African Americans than he does amongst white voters. Though Obama did carry the state of Iowa, it's going to be a lot harder, I believe, for Joe Biden to carry Iowa than it will be North Carolina. Despite North Carolina's electoral history of voting for the Republicans more than it did for the Democrats since the year 2000. But just taking a look at the Democrats, obviously the most reasonable path would require them to hold on to all of the states that were previously characterized as lean, likely, or tilt Dem, and obviously safe Democratic. But honestly, if they're winning in Montana and they're winning in North Carolina, I am very confident that the Democrats have held on to New Hampshire, held on to Michigan, held on to Minnesota, Colorado, and likely carried Maine. Now, in the off chance Maine does go to the GOP, let's say narrowly, the next state that I would say for the Democrats to focus on would be the state of Iowa. I think that is the next route for the Democrats, but realistically right now, I think that Maine would go Democrat before Georgia, Alabama, Iowa, and North Carolina, and Montana. So that pretty much wraps up this video. This is the pathway for the Democrats to win back the United States Senate. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. I actually have been reading a lot of them, reading a lot of the comments. So make sure to go ahead and do that if you want to see a specific video requested on my channel. And also, again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you all tomorrow.